Morning, everybody, again.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
Chair.
Okay, so I think we'll just go ahead and we'll see if Christian's on board. If not, he can probably join us and even by phone. But we'll go ahead and call to order the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal and informal session for August 26th, 2021. Commissioner Bershauer, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely. I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to the flag
to the
of the
United States
United States of America
and to the
and to the
republic,
republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty, and
liberty
for
and
all.
justice for all. Thank you. So do we have anything to add to our joint calendars?
Not that I'm aware of, Chair.
Thank you.
No, Chair, just a reminder that next week we have canceled the meeting for Thursday.
No session next week. Thank you for that. Public comment. We've received public comments via email. Thank you, Carolina, for getting those to us. And thank you, Carrie Hinton, for getting our meeting online. And we have no work session. We have no department updates. Do we have a motion to approve our consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented, Chair. Oh, with a pause for Christian.
Yeah, apologies. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I would just ask that under item 7, that the approval include the approval of an agreement and an ordering document between Yamhill County and Cherry Road Technologies for the Oracle Public Sector Cloud Services. There was an order document that we've been waiting for that sort of outlined the specific products and services that we'll be purchasing from Oracle, and it included some pricing that was being finalized. And so that document is now in the packet. So I just wanted to make sure that the approval included both the agreement and the ordering document.
Thank you for that. All right, appreciate that. So we have a motion to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And now we've got old business, and our Assistant County Counsel Colton Totland is here. And under item H1, we have the consideration of docket PAZ-02-21 and adopting ordinance 917 in the matter of a comprehensive plan amendment from very low density residential to industrial and a zone change from VLDR 2.5 very low density residential to light industrial, and the imposition of a limited use overlay, and that's planning docket PAZ-02-21 tax lot 5316-3100. The applicant is Beartooth Land Group LLC and Wayne Beebe, and declaring an emergency. We continued this from August 12th. So I believe at this point, Colton, that you're going to read the ordinance by title only twice, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. Thank you, Commissioners. This, as you all know, is a requirement to adopt an ordinance. Unless there are objections, I would like to read this ordinance by title only. So
Yes, thank you.
in the matter of a comprehensive plan amendment from very low density residential to industrial and a zone change from VLDR-2.5 very low density residential to LI light industrial, and imposition of a limited use overlay, planning docket PAZ-02-21 tax lot 5316-3100, applicant Beartooth Land Group LLC and Wayne G. Beebe, and declaring an emergency. This is ordinance 917. Any discussion?
Do we need to read that twice, or does my reading of it count, Christian?
No, if there's any discussion at this point, the board can have that, and then Colton would read it again, and then the board can act.
Okay, commissioners, any discussion?
No further discussion, Chair.
Okay, Colton.
All right. In the matter of a comprehensive plan amendment from very low density residential to industrial and a zone change from VLDR-2.5 very low density residential to LI light industrial, and imposition of a limited use overlay. Planning docket PAZ-02-21, tax lot 5316-3100. Applicant Beartooth Land Group LLC and Wayne G. Beebe, and declaring an emergency. This is ordinance 917.
Thank you, Colton. So we have a motion to approve and we've read it twice. No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you for that. On
Good
to-
job, Colton.
And thanks, Colton. Thanks.
Thank you for allowing me to just do the title.
Oh, yeah. Well, Todd was very clear when he left yesterday. No shenanigans, commissioners. And this was title only.
Well, and we had suggested that whichever commissioner asked for it to be read in its entirety, that they be the one to read it. So
I see. So you had a backup plan.
thank you all. Thanks, Colton.
Thank you, Colton.
You're
Thanks.
welcome.
Thanks, Kristen. On to item I, other business, consideration of approval to authorize Health and Human Services Director or designee on behalf of the Yamhill County Health and Human Services to submit an application for funding for the elimination of behavioral health inequities planning grant from the Oregon Health Authority in an amount up to $50,000. And I believe the information was in your packets. I do have some supplemental information, but if you have no further questions, I would move approval.
No further discussion from me, Chair.
No, thank you, Chair.
So move approval. That's been done. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. On to item I2, consideration of approval of an amendment that certain ground lease and memorandum of ground lease agreement originally entered into between Yamhill County and PI Tower Development LLC dated March 23rd, 2017 per board order 17-66 to update the legal descriptions of the leased premises and the access easements. Christian?
Christian, you're muted.
There we go. Yeah, this is something that the tower owner asked for. There were some slight adjustments to the easements and the leased premises once the parking lot improvements were completed out of Public Works. So this clarifies the exact location of the easements on the property in relation to the new parking lot improvements. This is something that would have been able to wait until next week, except that they're waiting to complete a refinancing of this, and their title company was not ready to move on approving the title insurance until these amendments had been completed. So again, I apologize for the short notice, but it's a pretty straightforward amendment to change those legal descriptions. Greg Hafner at Public Works has reviewed them. Jason Foose, our surveyor, has reviewed the descriptions, and everyone's on board with their accuracy. So unless there are other questions, I think we're ready to go.
Okay, great. Commissioners? Motion to approve?
I move that we approve.
Oh.
Sorry, I had to look it up, switching back and forth. Item I2.
Okay, further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion passes. On to item I3, consideration of resolution 21-08-26-1 in support of medical freedom. Commissioner Berschauer, you're bringing this to the board.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I brought this forward really as a response to concerns that we're seeing it across the state, but concerns we're getting from county employees specifically about whether or not exemptions will be honored, whether they be religious or medical. And we have been waiting, like most government entities, to see some sort of direction coming from OHA in terms of that what the process looks like, what kind of forms are needed, where they go, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that the fear is palpable, and you're seeing that across the state, from nurses to teachers to foster care providers, everybody who's connected with these new vaccine mandates for anybody working in the healthcare industry, essentially, or anyone in public education. So I wanted to bring this forward as really a statement of this commission's belief in medical freedom and opposing vaccine mandates just on principle. But my intention really is to have this be read into the record so that county employees can print it out and use it and submit it with their exemptions, whether they be religious or medical, and really feel like they have commissioners that are standing behind their right to medical choice and freedom. And that's really my purpose in bringing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. In the last 2 days, I've heard from a nurse who has almost 40 years in the profession who is getting out. I heard last night from a woman whose husband works at the Department of Correction, who is she's a mom who stays home with a baby, and it's their only source of income, and they're looking at having to quit. I've heard people thinking of moving out of state. I've heard people, and I don't know, I'm going to say about between 5 and 10 emails a day from people saying, what do we do? How do we do this? How do we get out of this forced vaccination? And so I've just been sharing with them. And what's interesting is I'm getting a lot of medical professionals who are asking the same questions and really having some concerns. So I think really the answer is that religious or medical exemptions, and I firmly believe that they need to be honored. And I hope that I know there are a number of different initiatives going on statewide to support various professions, the Oregon Nurses Association, and a variety of school boards. And folks are getting together to say that firefighters, heard from a lot of firefighters who are working to say that that they're not going to be forced to make a medical decision that they're not comfortable with. So I am in full support of this. Commissioner Kula?
Yes, thank you, Chair. And thank you, Commissioner Bershauer, for bringing this forward. I'd say, first of all, I haven't received any emails, and I haven't heard from county employees. So I'm happy to, if you want to forward those emails on to me, that would be great. I haven't heard a request from them for this. So what I have talked to, I've had people reach out who are concerned, who are county residents who live in other jurisdictions or who work in other jurisdictions. What I would be in support of is a statement that says that we recognize and value the medical and religious exemptions. But there's a lot of other stuff in this particular document that I either have no idea about because it's a statement that is either very legal or is lacking in a citation. So I'm not comfortable signing onto this, but I would love to have you forward those emails and maybe even put them in the record if you can.
Can I just say something, Commissioner Kula? For the record, you have not been supportive of any of our pushing back on mask or vaccine mandates. So it's really not unusual or surprising that people would not feel comfortable reaching out to you saying that they are looking for medical or religious exemptions, just to be clear. And if someone sends an email to me, who's basically hoping that I will be able to offer some options to them, I don't know that I feel comfortable outing them, since these are people who are working in state and county government. So while every email is a public record, there are people who obviously feel comfortable contacting us knowing that our position is to respect this. So no, I'm not in favor of forwarding any emails. I certainly won't be doing that.
Okay,
Commissioner Bershauer, it's up to you.
I would be happy to respond. It's just in the past, I've noticed that there's a tendency to present one side versus the other, and I would just like to see those emails.
Well,
since they are a public record, that's all.
Yeah, they are. Well, then do a public records request. But I think it's basically disrespectful to people who feel comfortable coming to us. And I'm getting phone calls and emails on a daily basis. So again, there's no surprise why you're not getting them.
Okay, fair enough, Chair. Commissioner Bershauer, you were going to say something. No, I apologize.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that I will certainly let these people know that you are interested in hearing from them. Whether they do or not is up to them. But I will say too that Mrs. Barton, the AFSCME union representative, sent us an email this week. And in it, if you look through it, it basically was a survey from county employees, specifically AFSCME members, but it was a self-reporting survey, and they self-reported that 80% of their group is vaccinated, which is great, but 20% of them are not or didn't report. And so, you know, this is a good chunk of our workforce. AFSCME happens to be the largest union in the county, so it's a good chunk of our workforce. And I want all of those folks to know that we support their medical freedom and their choices, and especially this 20% of our employees, perhaps across the board, that are feeling like they're going to lose their jobs if they don't get this particular vaccine. I don't want them to be in that position, and I want a very strong message from this board that says we support their individual right to medical choice and freedom. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Berschauer. Yeah, I think it's very important. And my advocacy has been with the governor's office around when are we going to see, how early, how soon can we see the process and the language for medical and religious exemptions, because that's an important part of this.
Okay, so Commissioner Berschauer, do you want to make a motion to approve this? And then we'll go ahead and you'll have to do the reading.
Sure. I move that we approve resolution 21-08-26-1 in support of medical freedom.
So Christian, the vote before or after the reading?
After.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve a resolution for medical and religious freedom for the in light of the vaccine mandates. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Oh, Commissioner Kula, go ahead.
Sorry, the further discussion. Because you had a motion.
Yeah, I thought we had that. Anyway, there's bugs, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Those are Todd's bugs. Commissioner Kula, go ahead.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Chair. And just for the record, I just want to note that I'm also very much in favor of making sure that we have strong medical and religious exemptions. But in light of not being willing to remove and just have a statement of that, I won't be voting in.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve. We've had our discussion. Oh, Commissioner Berschauer, go ahead.
Sorry, Chair, did Christian say I have to read it now or after the vote?
Before, please.
Before. Okay. All right,
Okay.
go ahead.
Let me pull it up here just a second. In the Board of Commissioners of the State of Oregon for the County of Yamhill, sitting for the transaction of county business, in the matter of a statement in support of medical freedom, Resolution 21-08-26-1, whereas medical and religious freedom are fundamental components of America's foundational values. The United States Bill of Rights constrains government entities from violating these basic liberties. At the center is the First Amendment, which prevents the government from making laws which regulate an establishment of religion or that would prohibit the free exercise of religion. And whereas the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution prohibits federal, state, and local governments from impermissibly burdening the free exercise of religion. The Free Exercise Clause requires government entities to refrain from disfavoring religious exercise and to treat religious exercise as favorably as comparable secular activities. The Constitution protects all those facing a vaccine mandate from a government entity. And whereas the First Amendment prohibits governmental entities from refusing to provide religious exemptions when it provides medical exemptions. If the government already recognizes that it can achieve its public health goals while allowing medical exemptions, it can also achieve its public health goals while allowing religious exemptions as well. And whereas employees of government entities have legal protections under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Title VII prohibits employers, private and governmental, that employ 15 or more employees from engaging in discrimination, harassment, or retaliation on the basis of religion. Title VII protections apply to religious beliefs and practices, even if those beliefs beliefs and practices are not recognized by any organized religion. And whereas a government's determination of whether to grant a religious exemption should not depend upon the government's perception of a particular religious belief. Religious beliefs need not be acceptable, logical, consistent, or comprehensible to others in order to merit First Amendment protection. The government must merely ascertain whether the person requesting a religious exemption holds an honest conviction. The First Amendment protects that person's religious exercise with or without support from clergy. And whereas employer freedom and individual freedom work hand in hand, we believe vaccine mandates without necessary exemptions violate the constitutional rights of all Oregonians. It is our expectation that all medical, philosophical, and religious exemptions be upheld in accordance with the First Amendment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners supports medical freedom.
Thank you. So just curious, Commissioner Kula, what in here did you find objectionable? Just so that we could maybe look at ways we could amend it to get a unanimous vote. What parts of this did you feel were not correct or putting in some kind of false suppositions? I'm trying to get to a unanimous vote here, if that's possible.
Yeah, certainly, Chair. So in reading it and in listening to it, there are many ways to interpret things. I frankly don't know. I've merely had something presented to me as true about both the Constitution and the laws of the state of Oregon and the US. So what I am much more comfortable with, because I don't actually know if any of the statements are themselves true, but I have little question marks in my head, especially about like what it means to have a religious exemption, because I haven't studied it clearly as closely as Commissioner Bershauer. So my request was simply that we present a statement to our employees that the religious and medical exemptions to the vaccine mandate are important, and that we will provide as much information as possible going forward about them as early as possible, and to make sure that there's a process for appeals as well. So that's my request. It's not couched in fancy language. It's just a statement that we provide to our to the employees of the.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bershauer.
Thank you, Chair. And Commissioner Kula, if you want to introduce that for our next meeting, I'd certainly be willing to vote for it. This language that is included in here is pulled from the Constitution, from the Bill of Rights, and from the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So it's not language that was made up. It's language that's laid out in these particular documents.
Can you provide a citation then? Because that's actually not what all of them say. That's all I'm saying, is that you've provided things to us outside of context.
Well, it's pretty easy to look up the Constitution and the Civil Rights Act and the Bill of Rights. I'm not sure why we have to cite that in here, but what I will say is that the concern and the reason this is coming forward is because people are experiencing HR departments that are acting as sort of quasi-judicial, entities that are deciding whether or not someone's religion is more important or valid than another person's religion, and they're denying exemptions or approving them based on whatever the HR department is deciding. So that's what I want to make sure that our county employees feel is not happening. That if they are submitting exemptions, that they will be honored. And I've asked those questions internally of our administrative staff and made sure that they know that is a significant concern. So that's really the purpose of this. But it does outline their rights in terms of public employees of a government entity.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion before us and we've had a reading of the resolution. So all those in favor of supporting this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, let the record show Commissioners Bershauer and Starrett voted in favor. Commissioner Kula voted against. Okay, public hearings. Thank you for that. Public hearings, we have none. Announcements. Do we have announcements?
I just wanted to know, it was great to have you join the water task force meeting. I found it super helpful, Commissioner Chair Starrett. And Commissioner Bershauer, I apologize for getting the link out too late, but the link is available now, and the slides are available as a PDF. And the slides are, to me at least, very helpful.
Very
Yeah.
much so.
Thank you, Commissioner. Actually, I got the link in time, so I was on the phone listening to all of it. So it was very
I'm so sorry.
interesting.
I would have called on you too.
That's okay. I was thinking, gosh, I had no idea that we were having such problems with the wells and, issue with water disappearing, but it's really the well problem. And I just had no idea. So it's very informative. So thank
I
you.
found it very helpful hearing about that, how rare the documented cases of interference from one well to another actually are. But it is also, it's concerning, but the lack of monitoring wells, I think, was the most worrisome to me in the basalt layers.
And that, of course, was a legislative consideration at one point. That was something that it was a little bit of controversy over it. But I do want to say, I did appreciate the information and hearing from everybody. I used to be on the water task force at AOC, and we had folks from all over the state. And you really had some issues when you're dealing with the Klamath Basin, and you could really, really see what was going on there. And what was so wonderful is OWRD really did do some very in-depth presentations every month. And that kept us up to speed. Then they merged and made it natural resources, and we really lost a lot of the specificity on water. But we know we're frustrated when land use things come before us and we can't make any decisions based on limited water. And so we're limited as to what the county can do, but it's always good for us to know, especially since what we have going on with the city of Yamhill. So, and thank you to Emergency Manager Sergeant Young for his work with that, and also Commissioner for getting everybody corralled to talk about water. I did want to ask you one question, and that was very concerning to me. At the beginning, you talked about a kitten up the tree, and I was very the rest of the time I kept thinking about that kitten. So now if it were me, I would have shut it down and said, folks, we have a kitten up a tree and we'll do this meeting another time. So whatever happened to the kitten, and is he or she okay?
Apparently she got down on her own right afterwards, and I got a little blurb on my radio for that one. So thank you for your concern, Commissioner Starrett.
Well, I just remember that my father always used to tell us, I've never seen a cat skeleton up a tree. So somehow they always come down.
I guess one way or another, is that what you're saying?
No, they come down. They don't expire up there. They find a way down, even if you have to call the fire department.
And I will say that we have our next, as you saw in the follow-up email, I scheduled our next water task force because some of the questions from folks on Chehala Mountain were really specific to issues that I knew we wouldn't be able to address in that particular meeting. So I'm hoping to have, I'm planning to have one in October that kind of goes over more of their particular concerns about the groundwater.
Yeah, well, thank you for that meeting. It was very good to have some of those updates. All right, anybody else have any announcements? Nope. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend. And we don't have a meeting next week, but we'll see you the following week. So thank you all very much.